Hi, I'm Rob Cram, and today we're taking a look at the long-awaited Tomb Raider reboot from Crystal Dynamics, who after lower than expected sales of Underworld went back to the drawing board to reinvent the Lara Croft character and provide a different sort of game than what is perhaps expected. From the offset, one has to forget the previous games, the solitary, methodical, slow-paced adventures filled with death-defying jumps and spiked pits, and imagine a game which focuses a little more on telling a story. Tomb Raider doesn't ditch its roots entirely, as throughout the game there are nuances that should be familiar to those who have relished in Lara's previous antics, but on the whole there's more affection towards action and seamless progression rather than hampered gameplay where players are left wondering what to do next. For some, the essence of working things out is lost, but at the same time, this more accessible game does a fine job of dragging players through the grime and predictable and coming out the other side all the more better for it. Tomb Raider tells the tale of young Lara Croft, whereby players are introduced to the story which forms her adventuring character we've seen in the other games. Starting out as a regular young lady with a team of explorers, Lara's world soon turns upside down as her ship and crew become marooned on an island, which can only be described as a living hell. Trapped on the island by ancient forces, Lara and crew have to survive the horrors whilst attempting to escape. The story is quite simplistic, but does give much greater characterization than what we've seen before. Lara starts out as a tenacious and vulnerable, but within moments of realizing her predicament at the hands of rabid wolves and bloodthirsty islanders, she learns fast that it's kill or be killed, and that survival of the fittest is key. Well, Lara is fit, as she runs, climbs, jumps, slides and shimmies across the varied themed areas of the island, always learning something new and putting her skills to good use, even if that means she comes across as a highly trained markswoman and one-woman killing machine. In the interest of gameplay, one has to forgive the rather swift transition alongside a number of the series' quirks in favour of keeping the momentum going rather than stalling players. There's rarely a dull moment as the game switches from solitary navigation with a touch of exploration thrown in, to full-scale combat moments against the armed islanders who simply want to fill Lara with bullets or set her on fire before impaling her with sharp weapons. There's a fairly decent number of varied enemy types too, and some neat AI which opts to keep players on their toes. The game seems to offer a neat contrast between the two gameplay styles, with a fairly robust pacing which suits the game very well. Throw in a bit of stealth and the choice of silenced or loud weapons, and players are presented with quite a range of options for dealing with encounters. The biggest draw of the game, aside from the gameplay, lies in its artistic direction and graphics, which create tons of atmosphere and immersion. On the PC, the game simply looks stunning, with lots of neat lighting, shadow effects, highly detailed textures and smooth uninterrupted frame rates, although this is subjective depending on what PC specs players are using. On maximum settings, the game is vibrant and captures forests, snowy mountains, dilapidated shantytowns to caverns and cliffs from dusk to dawn. Despite the game taking place in just one area, there's enough variety to keep things fresh. However, what is different is being able to return to previous areas at will to continue exploring as more skills are gained. Tomb Raider certainly pushes the boundaries a bit further for the PC version, instead of merely offering a higher resolution game, and with things like TresFX hair technology, there's a lot more flair in this version. That's not to say the console versions are not good looking either. Audio offers a complementary soundtrack that suits the theme of the game well, although in terms of sound effects, the audio space is limited at times. For example, on a beach with lots of seagulls, there are no bird sounds, which made for an unnatural silence, knowing how noisy seagulls can be. A minor quibble, but not the only instance of lack of ambient sound. The weapon sound, especially the machine gun, could have been meatier, as it sounded more like a pea shooter than anything. That said, from solid and fitting voice performances to orchestral pieces that drum up excitement at the opportune moments, the audio is of a high quality and fits the rest of the game. Tomb Raider offers quite the adventure and will take a fair amount of time to complete the story. There are other optional goals to strive for, such as maxing out Lara's skills and weapons, collecting all the hidden items and boasting about achievements, making for a comprehensive single-player game. For those looking to take the fight online, there's a multiplayer mode which keeps the verticality of the single player and throws in various team-based modes and deathmatch. It's not the most exciting and perhaps not the focus of the package, but does serve as a distraction all the same. The multiplayer feels very much tacked on, and in some ways the game would have been just fine without it. Either way, it's hard to complain about something extra in a game, although one can wonder what if those resources were added to the single player game. Tomb Raider is an excellent addition to the series and personifies what rebooting a franchise is all about. There's distinct nods to the game's past, but at the same time there's a more simplified offering that is squarely aimed at encapsulating more than just fans of the old games. Whilst Tomb Raider mixes action and exploration very well, the game's challenge is somewhat redundant as it progressively draws players into its story rather than offer tough gameplay moments. The element of easy checkpoints and no real fear of death makes the game lose some of its edge. However, for no-nonsense adventure, the game oozes quality and stands tall amongst its peers. Crystal Dynamics have come out on top with this latest game, and if you're looking for an action-adventure game with one of gaming's most well-known characters, then this is well worth a shot. Tomb Raider scores an impressive 8.5 out of 10. I'm Rob Cram, thanks for watching.